Yes, great. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? Very welcome for those who are just joining us for the afternoon segment of this program. And thank you very much for your flexibility. Initially, we thought that we would have done it the opposite way, which is to do the launch in the morning and then do a roundtable in the afternoon. But as fate would have it, we are actually doing it the reverse to accommodate some of the senior members of the executive. So my name is Alfred Kombudo. I'm Principal Secretary for Trade. And it's my pleasure to be here this afternoon and to welcome all of you to this important event, which is the launch of the e-commerce strategy. I spoke in extenso in the morning, and so I'll try and keep my comments fairly brief for this afternoon segment. And I will just reiterate a number of things. The first one is that services as a contribution to our GDP is more than half our economy now, and it is growing even further. And a big aspect of that is fulfillment through e-commerce. And e-commerce is extremely important for trade. It brings people onto the mainstream, people who could not have had a chance to put up brick and mortar and have an address somewhere as a basis for them to get into trade. It also enables for international transactions to work a bit more effectively. It also enables buyers and sellers to find each other in a more efficient and effective way. And it also ensures that we are able to bring in several new industries, those that are delivered digitally as part of the offering of the economy. So an e-commerce strategy from the perspective of trade is extremely important for us. And we are delighted that we are part of this journey, and you can be assured that we'll play our role in ensuring that the e-commerce strategy becomes one of the key pillars of the administration. As you will see, there are about 5 or 6 pillars which are underpinning this strategy: reform and implementation of the legal and regulatory environment, ensuring that access to payments work very well, ensuring that trade logistics and other forms of fulfillment are also well designed to facilitate e-commerce, also ensuring that things like data privacy and data protection and consumer protections are maintained. So there's a whole host of issues around there which relate to several sectors of the economy. We welcome you this afternoon and thank you and want to have you as part of this journey so that e-commerce can take its rightful place as a key pillar of not just economic growth, but of export growth as well. And I'd like to use this opportunity, an early one, to thank our honorable colleague, Principal Secretary for ICT and Digital Economy, for all the representatives from other MDAs that we were with in the morning. They're straddling education, finance, trade, ICT, and so many other sectors. I'd also like to thank members of the private sector for taking your time to be here, the development partners we had in the morning, and those that have continued to be with us here today, and also partners that were involved in writing this strategy with us, and that is the UNCTAD and GIZ that also sponsored this effort. Thank you very much, and I wish you a beautiful afternoon. Karibu.
It's now time.
I'd like to, with a lot of pleasure, invite my esteemed colleague. We run into each other at the lift once every so often because we're in the same building. He's on the 10th floor, I'm on the 18th. So we always have a nice chat on our way up, or if I find him going down, similarly. So we are partnering a lot in this area, and we are thankful for the partnership and support of the State Department for ICT and Digital Economy. Let us put our hands together to welcome Engineer Tanui. Thank you very much.
If you don't mind, I can make. Thank you, my colleague, PS Kobudo, PS Trade, our friends from UNCTAD, Shamika Siramane, Director on Technology and Logistics, the Deputy Ambassador, Germany, my colleagues, friends from GIZ, Bernard, colleagues from government, private sector, good afternoon. This is indeed a very special moment for us as we have this important conversation about e-commerce strategy. Many of you have done quite a lot of work to reach where we are today. So today marks a very important moment in Kenya's journey towards a digital future. We gather here not just to witness, but to actively participate in the launch of a groundbreaking initiative, the National E-commerce Strategy. This is not merely a document, it's a roadmap, a canvas guiding us towards a vibrant, inclusive, and a prosperous digital marketplace. Imagine a Kenya where farmers in Maralal connect directly with consumers in our coastal town of Mombasa, selling their freshest produce through a tap on their phones. Picture skilled artisans in Kisumu, showcasing their craft to the world, their intricate creations, finding homes across the continents. Envision budding entrepreneurs in Nairobi, launching their startups with a click of a button, and their ideas blossoming without the constraints of any physical borders. This, my friends and colleagues, is the power of e-commerce. It's about tearing down walls, democratizing access, empowering every Kenyan to be part of the global digital tapestry. This strategy is not just about numbers and growth, though those hold immense promise. It's about people, about transforming lives, about creating a level playing field where everyone has a chance to thrive. For our youth, e-commerce opens doors to exciting careers, foster innovations, ignites entrepreneurship, and open many doors. For our women, it provides a platform to shatter class ceilings, to be their own bosses, and to claim their rightful space in the global economic sphere. For our rural communities, it's a bridge to markets, a way to bypass the middlemen and a reap to the true rewards of their hard work. Yes, challenges lies ahead. We must bridge the digital divide, ensure secure online transactions, cultivate a culture of trust in our virtual marketplaces, but these are not insurmountable obstacles. They are stepping stones on our path to progress. Through this strategy, we at the Ministry of ICT, and our CS will be here, are committing to invest more in our infrastructure, expanding internet access to all our rural areas, building a secure digital ecosystem, promotion of use of applications of emerging technologies, such as artificial intelligence and IoTs, to ensure that that space takes advantage of all available technologies. We will also ensure that we enhance the cyberspace by ensuring we adopt robust, secure cybersecurity systems and ensure our customers are protected and ensure our institutions are in place, protect our data. We shall also empower people, equip them with the digital skills and knowledge to navigate the digital space. We will also enhance innovation by working with all the other agencies we have, the Kenya National Innovation Agencies, innovation locations like Onsa Technopolis, and our educational institutions to nurture a culture of creativity and entrepreneurship within the e-commerce sector. We will enhance building of trust and security, establishing secure regulations that protect our consumers. This is a collective effort, a hand we extend to each other from the government to the private sector through the tech chance in the tech space, and also our partners like UNCTAD, GIZ, and many others to ensure that we continue building the necessary bricks to build a secure e-commerce ecosystem that is truly Kenyan, dynamic, resilient, and inclusive. Let this be a day not just a celebration, but an action. Let's embrace the e-evolution, not with fear, but with an unwavering spirit of joint efforts as a country. We just celebrated our 60th anniversary yesterday with a spirit we call Arambe. Together we can make Kenya a beacon of digital progress, a land where e-commerce empowers and uplifts and propels us towards a brighter future. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much.
It's now time for presentation of the overview of the e-commerce strategy. Next slide. Of course, the definition of e-commerce morphs into the definition of digital economy. So it's good to define them because they depend on each other. There is no digital economy without e-commerce, and e-commerce is the major component of digital economy. So that's why the definition is there. You look at the PowerPoint. Next slide. So there's also that definition of digital economy because they morph into each other. Next slide. Benefits of digital economy. The slides are very clear. The benefits are clearly indicated. Next slide. These are the components of digital economy. We have internet, mobile devices, e-commerce, social media, cloud computing. Next slide. So, Kenya National E-commerce Strategy has been developed meticulously through participatory approach of interministerial committee and private sector members. So we have the vision. Vision of the strategy is inclusive and widespread use of trusted and secure e-commerce services based in Kenya. And the mission of e-commerce strategy is to provide an enabling environment for the development in Kenya of trusted e-commerce services accessible and used by all. Next slide. So these are the objectives. And it has those 5 objectives as you can see. So the next slide. There are these now strategic objectives. So there's pillar 1 is the regulations, law and regulations, and the components are clearly indicated. Pillar 2 is information, technology, telecommunications, and power outcomes. And the components are clearly indicated. Trade facilitation and logistics, and it has the outcomes indicated. Like the first one is an e-commerce policy that supports increased export and improved national competitiveness through the greater use of ICT in international trade. So there's also a legal and regulatory framework as number last there for postal and courier services that safeguards customers and meets trade and other statutory requirements while minimizing regulatory burden. The pillar 4 is payment solution, which is very important, and it has the 2 outcomes as indicated there. Next slide. No, there's something happening. So you can see pillar 5 is skills and human capacity development. So it will lead to increased e-commerce awareness and skills among the public and those living schools and the business people. The information communication technology that meets needs of persons with disability in e-commerce. The pillar 6, we have the outcome, the access to finance, and it will be improved access to and availability of investment finance for e-commerce firms across socioeconomic regions. So you can see the the e-commerce implementation committee, we have the cabinet, the prime cabinet secretary, and the national e-commerce committee, or implementation committee, where we have the chairperson as the principal secretary for trade. So the national e-commerce committee has several actors, ministries, departments, agencies, and the private sector representatives. Some of them are listed there. Next slide. So this is implementation of the e-commerce strategy. We have a strong institutional framework outlined in the strategy to ensure that it is fully implemented. So because of this, its cross-cutting nature, we have the private sector and public sector intermingling there. And even we have two universities, University of Nairobi and private university Strathmore. The parties include government ministries, as I explained, private sector and the agencies. So the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry will spearhead the implementation of the strategy as the lead agency in liaison with Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, just because e-commerce rides on the digital economy. Next slide. So these are the activities already being undertaken in 2023. So communication has been done to the ministries, and they have nominated representatives for the implementation committee. We have reduced the number to 30, and the others will be co-opted when the need arises. So the principal secretary, following the briefing of the principal secretaries in June, subsequent online meetings have been held weekly on Fridays in relation to the launch of today's strategy. So the State Department of Trade has been able to share with stakeholders and other development partners about the strategy implementation. And even the support, we need financial and technical support from ANICTAT and GIZ and the other development partners. We have also communicated on the 5 concept notes that State Department of Trade needs support. Next slide. So development of a coherent e-commerce policy ranks high on our activities, because in strategic management, a policy midwives a strategy. It anchors a strategy. Support for the State Department of Trade to operationalize the e-commerce implementation committee, including stationing an ANICTAT digital economy expert to help the committee in the matters, projects, and programs. There's that capacity building for MSMEs up to the counties, so that there's a balanced development of e-commerce between the rural and urban areas, so that we reduce the digital divide in matters e-commerce. So there is a reduction of redundancies and bureaucracy in trade facilitation pertaining to sale of goods and services. And the other one is upgrading or overhauling the Kenya National e-trade portal based at State Department of Trade, so that buyers can meet sellers online, so that MSMEs can leverage on export trade to graduate into medium and large-scale enterprises. So the next slide. So these are the areas of implementation support that we require. Yeah, we say the policy anchors a strategy, and it's an expression of our national aspirations. Strategic economic interests are expressed in our policy. That's why we want e-commerce to be anchored on policy and strategy, because it contributes about 9% of the GDP, and in 2022, we were number 54th in the world. Kenya was number 54 in contribution to global e-commerce GDP. So sensitization and capacity building of county directors and SMEs. This will reduce the digital divide between the rural and urban areas for a balanced growth of e-commerce in Kenya. Establishment of interministerial committee, this is being established, and even they will meet tomorrow. ANICTAT will give a tutorial on e-commerce tracker tomorrow. The nominees will be given tutorials tomorrow. So next slide. So these are cross-cutting issues. Access to and availability of electronic devices and telecommunication services. Access to electronic payment services. Familiarity with sufficient information technology. Ability to use information technology for e-commerce and availability of goods and services. Next slide. The complete Kenya e-commerce strategy being launched today is a great milestone for Kenya, and it will be implemented through interministerial committee composed of ministries, agencies, and private sector. We also have the 47 counties, and as I've told you, we want to reduce the digital divide between the rural areas and the urban areas for a balanced growth of e-commerce. So all the county directors and through the council of governors are involved in this implementation. Kenya e-commerce sector, is the basis of the fourth industrial revolution, and it should be anchored on a policy and strategy, because it is an important strategic sector for Kenya in matters economic growth and poverty alleviation. Thank you. Now it's remarks from GIZ. So, Deputy German Ambassador, welcome. Give your remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very pleased and very honored to be here today and take part in this, I think, very important session. And we have very distinguished guests here as well. Madam Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, thank you for coming and having this event together with us. We have Principal Secretary Alfred Kombudo here and Principal Secretary Engineer Tanui, representative from United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, Mrs. Shamika Sirimane. But most and very important also those who will be in charge for implementing this new strategy and who will benefit from this new strategy. So a warm welcome and to all of you. Today we gather here to celebrate a remarkable achievement that resonates deeply with the values of collaboration, economic empowerment, and national growth. The launch of the National E-Commerce Strategy today marks the culmination of a long collaborative journey between the governments of Kenya and Germany, as well as many other contributors who have worked tirelessly to elaborate this roadmap, which guides Kenya for its future digital positioning, regionally and globally. We commend Kenya and all involved stakeholders on the significant steps taken so far. Currently, e-commerce and the digital economy contribute an estimated 7.7% of the country's gross domestic product. This might significantly increase in the future. I remember 10, 15 years ago in Germany, we had this big boost of e-commerce, which has its great advantages, but also, I must say, some disadvantages. I see it with my children. They hardly go anymore in shops. They just order things in the internet. They look at it, return it, or buy it. And I think that is also a big burden sometimes for the retail shops, sending out so many products and then returning them, getting them returned in many cases. And in Germany, it led also to the more unfavorable situation that the cities where the shop where people went to on Saturdays or in the evenings to go shopping are now getting more and more lifeless. We have many shops which had to close, and they are looking for new business models that combine the presence in the city, which is still, I think, important if people want to have a good consultation for their products or for the things that they buy, and e-commerce, where they are present for everybody and not only for the ones in their own city. And I think that is that might be the future, a mixture of both shops that are still present in the city and that keep cities alive, and also e-commerce, which just increases the reach out of those shops beyond their cities into the whole country or even into the whole region. Digital trade and e-commerce are defining features of the new digital economy, transforming domestic and international markets with unparalleled speed and depth. This strategy contributes towards strengthening of the regulatory frameworks that create a conducive environment of growth in e-commerce and digital trade. Prioritization of investments in e-commerce coupled with access to financing for MSMEs can significantly bolster e-commerce in Kenya while deepening inclusive trade in both urban and rural areas. Ladies and gentlemen, women play an important role in the economic development of any nation. Digital trade offers a relatively low barrier to entry, enabling women to launch startups, sell products, and offer services without the need for significant upfront investment. The inclusion of women's interests and needs within this strategy is a testament to the commitment of the Kenyan government towards the empowerment of women. Germany is pleased to have contributed to the important groundwork, having supported the development of the strategy of Kenya and the subsequent preparations for a national e-commerce strategy in collaboration with UNCTAD. It reflects the close cooperation between Kenya and Germany in the digital sector. Just recently, Cabinet Secretary Owalo was in Germany to sign a memorandum of understanding for a digital dialogue. You, PS Tanui, have been to Germany not long ago, also with I think, very good results and further intentions of collaboration. Cybersecurity, artificial intelligence and data protection and many other issues are important to talk about, also with respect to e-commerce. And I think Germany and Kenya in this respect have very similar ideas and do not only collaborate in the two countries, but the intention is also to collaborate on a global stage to set standards that will benefit our two countries, but also the people around the globe. But the real work for the e-commerce strategy will only start with implementing the recommendations derived from this document. Ladies and gentlemen, German government, through the Pan-African e-commerce initiative implemented by GIZ, continues to be committed to improve framework conditions for small and medium-sized enterprises to participate in cross-border digital trade. And I think the project that Bernd Lakemeyers leads and the program he leads stands for that commitment, that we also in the future will stand by the side of Kenya in order to improve the conditions for small and medium-sized enterprises and for regional economic exchange. I would like to extend my appreciation to the government representatives present, including Cabinet Secretary Miano and the two honorable principal secretaries that are here. Special gratitude to the e-commerce steering committee of focal persons for driving this process behind the scenes to make it the success that it is today. I also want to extend my thanks to our cooperation partners from the United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, and to all implementing partners from governmental institutions, private sector, and civil society involved in the making of the e-commerce strategy. Finally, my gratitude goes to GIZ, the team that is working behind the scenes together with the Kenyan government to improve the economic situation in this country. And we have so many launches and outreaches to the public with our projects, and that shows how much we are committed and we are ready to collaborate. So thank you very much also to you, and thank you for all of you for coming here today and showing interest into this new strategy. And now it's time to fill it with life. Asante sana.
It is now time for the Director of E-commerce and Logistics to give remarks.
So good afternoon, everyone. Excellency, Ms. Rebecca Miano, Cabinet Secretary, the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, and thank you so much for being with us here. And Excellency, Mr. Eliud Owalo, Cabinet Secretary of Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy, and thank you also for being with us. And my dear colleagues, Mr. Alfred Kombudo, the Principal Secretary, Trade, and also Engineer John Tanui, Principal Secretary, ICT and Digital Economy, and Mr. Alexander Feely, the Deputy Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany. And Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to be with you today for the launch of Kenya's National E-commerce Strategy. I think it marks an important milestone for Kenya's economic development, diversification, and job creation. Let me start expressing my deep gratitude for the commendable collaborative endeavors of both the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and the Ministry of Information, Communications, and the Digital Economy. This collaboration and the joint commitment at the Cabinet Secretary level will be a crucial element of the successful implementation of Kenya's e-commerce strategy. And in many countries, when the Digital Ministry and the International Trade Ministry come together, and that's when the e-commerce strategy and the digital economy strategies get legs. So I'm so happy to see you sitting together there. And I'm also happy to know that the two PSs constantly share a lift, and that's also a good sign. And let me also thank all stakeholders. Many of you are here, and we heard from you this morning that through your collective efforts have played a vital role in shaping this promising strategy. So it was not written in an office somewhere. It was truly a collaborative effort with the interministerial group coming together and the private sector coming together, development partners coming together. And that's why this strategy is so rich. And let me also take this opportunity to thank the government of Germany for the financial and technical support through its development and international cooperation arm, GIZ. Bernd, thank you so much, and it has been a great, great collaboration. So the strategy is a testimony to the government's commitment to creating an enabling environment for the digital age and a call to action to work together to build a vibrant e-commerce ecosystem. Deputy Ambassador, you mentioned that now is the time. After the strategy, how do you take it forward? I mean, we all know Kenya has a robust digital infrastructure which has resulted in increased internet adoption, uptake of digital services, and leadership in mobile money innovations, and all of which are critical enablers to the growth of e-commerce. So I think Kenya is at the right place at the right time. And in fact, in many cases, when we go across the world, I don't know how many times I have been asked to tell countries how Kenya got M-Pesa right. And there's a great need for also learning from Kenya in many parts of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the stars are pretty much aligned for a success story because the national e-commerce strategy of Kenya is set in the context of a broader government policies in key areas that support e-commerce. These include Kenya's Vision 2030 and the Digital Economy Blueprint, the National Trade Policy, and other key policy documents. So it is not done in a vacuum. It's done very much in line up with the vision and the aspiration of the country. And notably, the strategy is built on the principle of inclusivity, and I really like to highlight this because we are highlighting your strategy as a best practice in that sense. And the one aim to work for all and not just for the few, because in many cases that's what happened with the digital technologies. It's captured by few platforms, captured by few rich people who get richer, and it leaves behind many people who are in need of this space. And I think it's also important to know that the foundation of the strategy is for trust building in this space. I think this is something that we always hear. If you don't have trust in the emerging digital economy, you will not get engaged in doing digital transactions. So they're very much anchored in how do you build trust, the strategy. And it anchors itself in making e-commerce more accessible and beneficial for all, including marginalized groups. And very importantly, the strategy seeks to increase adoption of e-commerce by businesses, SMEs, women, youth-led businesses. And that's what we see in Kenya. It's a real revolution among the SMEs, the women-led, youth-led groups. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a well-coordinated and dynamic governance and implementation structure, including a National E-Commerce Committee, will guide the implementation of the strategy around the 6 pillars that Dr. Simeo identified. And it has 36 strategic initiatives. And political will and technical and financial cooperation will be the backbone of the strategy implementation. With the 2 CSs here, we know the political will is there, so the document is already blessed. So let me say it's been an honor for UNCTAD to support Kenya in the development of its e-commerce strategy. And please know, we will be with you on this journey. We are not here and then we don't disappear. We are just a telephone call or an email away from you. And we will not only partner with you, but we also promise to bring the other international organizations with us, with you on this journey, because we have a platform called E-Trade for All Partners. And the platform has basically all the international organizations who is who in e-commerce and the digital economy, and we work together because we also understand, and one international organization cannot fulfill all the requirements of the digital economy. It's the same like the one government agency cannot fulfill all the requirements of the digital economy. So let me assure you again, and we are here for you on this journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sirimane, who's the director for the Division on Technology and Logistics for UNCTAD. It is also much pleasure and humility that we acknowledge the presence of both our cabinet secretaries. We have with us Cabinet Secretary for ICT and Digital Economy, Honorable Eliud Owalo, and we also have Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Investment, Trade, and Industry, Rebecca Miano. Let's put our hands together for them. And the two cabinet secretaries are going to do the launch of the e-commerce strategy. But ahead of that, they shall be presenting us with their remarks, and then we shall proceed to the launch of the strategy. And going by the program, I would now like us to put our hands together to acknowledge and to welcome Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Information, Communication, and Digital Economy to speak with us. Thank you very much.
I'm glad to be here this afternoon to join you at this very, very important occasion where we are unveiling our e-commerce strategy, because this is actually an enabler to what us as government have in our Kenya Kwanza bottom-up economic transformation agenda. So the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Trade, my sister, Honorable Rebecca Miano, the UNCTAD Director for Technological and Logistics Division, the Deputy Ambassador to the Federal Republic of Germany, our two principal secretaries, Alfred and Engineer Tanui. All protocols observed. Good afternoon. I'm greatly pleased to witness the unveiling of the National E-commerce Strategy today, and which marks the culmination of multi-sectoral efforts that collectively position Kenya for exponential growth in e-commerce. The growing digital economy, championed by our two ministries, presents all other sectors in our society with immense possibilities. With each passing year, new technologies and services emerge on the horizon. And as digital technologies become the cornerstone of our daily activities, governments, businesses, and individuals must adapt to this new reality. In fact, even by the mere launch of this e-commerce strategy, we are basically just responding to changes in our operational environment. That in today's world of digital economy, we need to facilitate or to leverage on technology to facilitate business transactions. And more often than not, it's no longer the case, it's no longer imperative that we must have physical interface between the buyer and seller of any commodity across the borders and across the globe. So this really is the rationale and essence of launching the e-commerce strategy. The strategy will provide a strategic vision enabling Kenya to identify economic opportunities supportive of its strategic development goals, including those outlined in our Vision 2030, and of course, by extension, the fourth medium-term plan, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, our digital economy blueprint, and a national ICT policy, and all other attendant policies and regulations. It is worth noting that the e-commerce strategy seeks to leverage Kenya's strengths in that frontier while addressing the bottlenecks and challenges hindering e-commerce in this country. If well harnessed, e-commerce will greatly accelerate economic and social development through economic diversification, job creation, and increased trade. As you may be aware, Kenya as a country is on a digital transformation journey to maximize opportunities for sustainable economic development. Technology has been at the epicenter of this transformation, explaining why we boast globally acclaimed digital solutions that have enhanced financial inclusion, such as M-Pesa. In fact, just for purposes of clarity, let me espouse that we are not launching this e-commerce strategy in a vacuum. We already have a solid digital foundation on the basis of which the e-commerce strategy will be anchored and facilitated. For starters, we are rolling out 100,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable to facilitate access to reliable and stable internet connectivity all over the country. We are establishing and operationalizing a total of 25,000 Wi-Fi hotspots spread evenly all over the country. That again is a facilitator. By way of ensuring that we have got commensurate level of digital skills, we have also rolled out an ambitious program, digital skilling program, that will be facilitated by the establishment of a total of 1,450 digital hubs all over the country. We have gone a step further and ensured that we are no longer going to operate on manual processes in government. Based on a partnership between our ministry and the Ministry of Interior, we have managed to digitalize a total of 13,482 government services against a background of a meager 350 services that were online on the eCitizen platform about 1 year ago. So the requisite infrastructure, technological infrastructure, to facilitate or to help us operationalize the e-commerce strategy is already in place. We have made considerable strides in facilitating the growth of e-commerce in this country, in line with the mandate of both my ministry and that of trade, of course. This includes fostering the confidence of consumers in digital platforms as avenues for doing business. E-commerce, ladies and gentlemen, as it stands now, would not be where it is without the stable ICT environment we have fostered, where multiple data carriers offer services at competitive rates, leading to widespread access to the internet. We have also rolled out an electronic system that facilitates the creation, storage, and assignment of digital certificates to individuals, firms, and state agencies. This initiative by the government will facilitate online identity and verification system, popularly known as the National Public Key Infrastructure. And it will facilitate or permit each citizen or organization to be issued with a unique online identity or digital certificate, for that matter, required whenever they partake in online transactions. With the full commercialization of the National Public Key Infrastructure, we envisage that the electronic system will create a framework for protecting communications and stored information from unauthorized access and disclosure by addressing the fundamentals of cyber security, confidentiality, integrity, and of course, authentication. But in the converse of it, while we have made great strides, there is still room for improvement in terms of e-commerce readiness. We therefore need to ask the right questions about what we can do to ensure we reap the full benefits that e-commerce holds. The government, through the ICT sector regulator, the Communications Authority of Kenya, has put in place protective mechanisms for the courier industry responsible for the delivery of items purchased online. The e-commerce guidelines for courier operators seeks to ensure the highest levels of professionalism when conveying customer items. And these guidelines obligate courier operators to implement process and procedures for adequate security of consumer packages, as well as the implementation of track and trace services for couriered items. We have also coordinated efforts, ladies and gentlemen, towards the establishment of a national addressing system for the country. A well-designed national addressing system will provide us with a robust mapping of properties and places to facilitate e-commerce. We already have a policy and bill in place. We are progressing to take it to Cabinet, and subsequent to approval by Cabinet, we will push it to Parliament for purposes of enactment into law. And in that regard, then, we would confidently state, without fear of contradiction, that we have got a sound policy, legal, and regulatory framework on the basis of which our e-commerce strategy can be anchored. Through other mechanisms, such as the Universal Service Fund, we have also rolled out other initiatives that will greatly enhance access to communication services, including mobile and broadband connectivity. We are also in the process of fast-tracking and mainstreaming the national fiber optic cable and alternative solutions to expand even more in rural and peri-urban areas, and I had espoused quite a bit on our digital infrastructure initiatives. These initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, as I had enumerated earlier, will fundamentally impact the literacy levels in the country and further open new frontiers of opportunities on digital platforms, including e-commerce, to a greater proportion of the population. The e-commerce now presents manifold opportunities for driving the digital economy in Kenya. And with a substantial portion of the population yet to access broadband services, it means that the room for innovative digital solutions and services, including but not limited to e-commerce, is in the horizon. As I conclude, may I emphasize that this national e-commerce strategy is a significant leap towards addressing the bottlenecks stifling e-commerce in the country. My ministry remains committed to constantly engaging diverse stakeholders to support relevant policy reforms. And in this regard, I want to really commend UNCTAD, who have been supportive of this initiative. I also want to commend GIZ, who have worked with us closely in this process with the two PSS. So we'll continue working with you, depending on unfolding events from time to time, just to ensure that based on emerging issues in the operational environment, we facilitate relevant policy reforms, develop the requisite infrastructure, and other initiatives that can help enhance the ICT footprint by engendering progressive conversations as we have here today. Let me conclude by saying that what we have done is the simple part. We have the strategy. Strategy formulation is just the basic component of any strategy. We now need to move to strategy implementation. But as we implement, we must also have a robust monitoring, evaluation, and reporting framework to facilitate successful implementation of the strategy. As a ministry, we look forward to working with all the relevant stakeholders. We remain ready and available for that cooperation. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary. Let's put our hands together once more for him. I would now like to ask that again we put our hands together to welcome the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. Most welcome.
Thank you very much, my Cabinet colleague and all the distinguished participants. Good afternoon. I want to start by saying that CS Owalo and I were in a cabinet meeting this morning, and we therefore beg your pardon for coming in late for this meeting. I'm honored really to witness this momentous occasion of the official launch of the Kenya National E-Commerce Strategy. Today, we take a vital step as a nation towards harnessing the power of the digital economy and positioning Kenya as a key player in the global e-commerce ecosystem. Allow me to unreservedly congratulate various sectors, industries, and stakeholders who have contributed in the formulation and realization of our national e-commerce strategy. Among them are the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. We have GIZ. In the same breath, I extend my sincere appreciation to government ministries, departments, and agencies the private sector, and small and medium enterprises, all of who were involved in the successful development of this piece of cutting-edge technology. Our world is evolving rapidly, with technology redefining borders of jurisdiction in favor of digital options for commerce and trade. The Kenya National E-commerce Strategy is a visionary response to the opportunities and challenges presented by the digital age. The strategy lays the foundation of a dynamic, inclusive, and sustainable digital economy that empowers businesses and individuals alike. It is indeed a testament to our dedication to foster an environment that enables businesses to thrive. It encourages innovation whilst ensuring that no one is left behind in the digital revolution. The development of the e-commerce strategies, ladies and gentlemen, comes at an opportune moment with our government, when our government, through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, intends to promote the digitalization of its services to make them more accessible to the public, as well as support the growth of enterprises within this sector through enforcement and implementation of various laws, regulations, policies, and strategies. And my colleague C.S. Owalo has talked about that in detail. It is expected that the implementation of the strategy will lead to creation of an enabling environment for the development in Kenya of trusted e-commerce services accessible to and used by all. The strategy is envisioned to enhance provision of timely and accessible information through e-commerce to spur both domestic and international trade through enhanced product range, standards, and ability of Kenyan producers to respond to export market requirements. This will, in turn, help to address the country's persistent global trade balance deficit, which we all know. The strategy will also assist not only in strengthening the existing e-commerce initiatives established by our government to create job opportunities, but will also facilitate the actualization of national and regional policies, as well as implementation of strategies upon which e-commerce initiatives in the country are embedded, including the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. So, distinguished guests, a strong institutional framework is outlined in the strategy to ensure its full implementation and achievement of its intended results. The cross-cutting nature of the strategy requires that many different parties from the public sector as well as the private sector will be involved in its implementation. These parties include government ministries, departments and agencies, county governments, and representatives of commerce industry and consumers. And these initiatives will be led by the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry, and will, in liaison with the Ministry of Information, Communications and Digital Economy, ensure that this strategy is implemented with the seriousness it deserves. I call upon all stakeholders to pull in one direction by playing their roles as outlined in the implementation plan of the strategy, so as to ensure its seamless implementation for the benefit of all in the e-commerce sector. As we unveil this strategy today, let us reaffirm our commitment to its effective implementation to unleash the full potential of our digital economy and ensure that every Kenyan can participate and benefit from the opportunities that e-commerce presents. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to once again thank our development partners for their unwavering support towards the development and actualization of the Kenya e-commerce strategy, and also to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who played a role in the development of this strategy. I look forward to our future collaboration with all the stakeholders in the sector as we endeavor to promote the growth and development of the e-commerce sector in Kenya. As I wind up, I agree with Jack Ma's view. And like him, and I quote, "My vision is to build an e-commerce ecosystem that allows consumers and businesses to do all aspects of business online." But I also have another quote that I got yesterday from the speech that was made by His Excellency at Jamhuri Day. And he was talking about the progress that Kenya has made in various fields. But then he said, and I quote, "We have not made as much progress with our economy. Our generation has unfinished business of actualizing economic prosperity." This evening, the people in the room and those who have worked on this strategy are fulfilling that dream and their part of actualizing economic prosperity for our country. I thank you.
We are going to now have stand on either side of, so we'll have one cabinet secretary on this side, one cabinet secretary on the other side, and then they'll be flanked outward so that we can see yes, so cabinet secretary on that side, cabinet secretary on that side, and then, yes. So we are now also going to have the unfurling and then also confetti, but I'd like to ask Shiko to kindly lead us on how the process will go.
Yes, so Cabinet Secretary Trade, if you could go on the other side, probably. So that you could, yes, so that you could officially launch by pressing the button. Yeah, then, yes, do it together then. Yes. So, Ambassador Furley, please come this side. No. Okay, you want them to stay? Okay. Yes, so please proceed. Thank you very much. May I welcome the 6 of you to please go on stage. Yes, you can take a photo here first.
Maybe we can start with the 2 cabinet secretaries, then we'll join.
Okay.
Okay, so, oops. Okay, so let's hand them a round of applause again as they savor the moment of the e-commerce strategy. Let's have the Principal Secretary, ICT, to also join, and the rest, so that then we can also have a photo. And then from there, we shall move on to stage. Everybody else will also get a copy of the program. We shall display a copy on stage, and then we shall call it a day. Thank you very much. I'll also join the picture right now.
Chai hapo nje kweli? Kuna chai hapo nje. Nadhani chai.